While this has been an exciting time and added to speculation, there's just really nowhere else to go in solving the D.B. Cooper caper.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're breaking down the most chilling unsolved mysteries from across America, one for every state. From eerie disappearances and cryptid legends to murders that still haunt investigators, we're exploring the cases that continue to defy explanation. We'll be focusing on mysteries that remain open, unexplained, or shrouded in controversy to this day. So don't expect any tidy endings here.
So here's definitely some Mothman graffiti. I mean, we have the humanoid structure, we have the wings, the big, you can see two large eyes.
Montana, disappearance of Patricia Meehan.
As I looked out across the accident, I noticed someone on the other side of the fence standing there like a spectator, not like that it had happened to her.
37-year-old Patricia Bernadette Meehan collided head-on with another vehicle in Montana Highway 200 near Circle on April 20th, 1989. Dazed and glassy-eyed, she stepped out of her car, stared silently at the wreckage, and walked off into the surrounding prairie. She was never seen again.
She was a very caring individual. Never wanted to hurt anyone, and here she had a very traumatic accident where she may have thought instantly that she hurt or killed another person, and her mind blocked that out.
Over the years, more than 5,000 reported sightings poured in from across the U.S., but none were verified. Investigators theorized that Meehan, suffering from head trauma or emotional distress, might have wandered off in a fugue state. Featured on Unsolved Mysteries, her case remains one of Montana's most haunting disappearances, a woman seemingly erased by the open plains.
More than anything else in the world, I want her back with us. When we would then know that she'd be safe, not knowing who she's going to get a ride from. And that's my biggest worry, I think. Just preys on your mind day in and day out. And you pray to God and hope that she's with good people.
North Carolina, Lost Colony of Roanoke.
It is one of America's oldest unsolved mysteries, and it happened in our own backyard. What happened to the Lost Colony of Roanoke?
In 1587, more than 100 English settlers established a fragile colony on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. When a resupply ship finally returned 3 years later, the fort was deserted.
No one knows for certain what happened. Some argue the colonists traveled inland. Some think they died or were all killed. Others firmly believe they came here to Hatteras Island.
Because the colony doesn't know they're lost. In their mind, someone's coming back with resupplies.
The colonists did leave behind a clue.
The only clue was the word Croatoan, carved into a post. No bodies, graves, or records were ever found. Did the colonists assimilate with the Croatan tribe, perish in conflict, or die of famine? Archaeological finds at sites miles away suggest migration, but no proof has ever surfaced. Over 4 centuries later, the fate of the Roanoke settlers is America's original unsolved mystery. A chilling question mark at the dawn of its history.
I think that it's almost a duty to learn about it. This is the birth of America, and this is the real story.
It's a story of failure, but these failures are what the success of our nation is founded on.
North Dakota, disappearance of Barbara Louise Cotton.
And continuing coverage today marks 40 years since a 15-year-old girl went missing just blocks away from her home in Williston. Family and friends are still looking for answers involving the disappearance of Barbara Cotton. And in the midst of it all, they decided to celebrate her life.
15-year-old Barb Louise Cotton left a restaurant in downtown Williston, North Dakota after dinner with friends and vanished on her short walk home. She was last seen heading toward Recreation Park, just blocks from her house on April 11th, 1981.
What I can remember, it was more on possibly runaway at that time, and that's kind of what I believed, I guess.
That didn't change for I don't know how long after she disappeared, that they finally decided she wasn't a runaway.
But the question still remains, what actually happened?
Despite searches, interviews, and decades of renewed attention, no physical evidence has ever been found. Rumors of suspects and sightings persist, but none have been confirmed. More than 40 years later, Cotton's disappearance is among North Dakota's oldest active missing person cases, a mystery that still haunts the quiet streets of Williston.
Although this is the family's first time holding an event to celebrate Barbara's life, both pain and hope still remain.
You just walk into a store and hope to see her. You know, you get a phone call and you take it because you hope it's her calling you. And a lot of that throughout the past 40 years.
Nebraska. Disappearance of Stephen Hattija.
Our math department at Chadron State had been looking for a theoretical mathematician. You know, Chadron State's a fairly small community, somewhat remote, a couple of hours to the nearest mall. Not too often do you find PhD mathematicians that would like to settle in that kind of a rural environment.
Chadron State College math professor Stephen Hattija vanished from the small Nebraska college town where he taught in December 2006. Months later, searchers discovered his burned remains bound with wire in a ravine just south of campus. A gruesome and baffling scene.
It was widely reported that the cause of death of Dr. Hattija was smoke and soot inhalation combined with thermal injuries. That is true. In layman's terms, that means that Dr. Hattija unfortunately burned to death. Additionally, there were wrappings around Dr. Hattija's ankles, around his torso, his midsection, connecting him to a tree.
Authorities detailed the discovery and said homicide had not been ruled out, though no suspects were ever identified. Friends and colleagues remembered Hattija as quiet and kind, though struggling with personal pressures, leaving investigators uncertain whether his death was self-inflicted, foul play, or something stranger. The case inspired author Poe Ballantyne's memoir, Love and Terror, on the howling plains of nowhere, ensuring Hattija's mystery stands as perhaps Nebraska's darkest cold case.
I actually also had sent an email to one of the editors at the Chronicle of Higher Education, and I just got a strange email back from him that said that this happens all the time. We get emails like this all the time, and they usually just show up. So right now it's not news for us. I was kind of shocked by that.
New Hampshire. Bear Brook murders.
Cold case investigators in New Hampshire have a major update in the infamous Allenstown murders. It's a case our Bob Ward has covered for decades and featured as part of New England's Unsolved. 4 people were found dead in Bear Brook State Park.
A hunter in Bear Brook State Park discovered a 55-gallon drum containing the remains of an adult woman and a young girl in the mid-1980s. 15 years later, another barrel was found nearby with 2 more children inside. For decades, the victims and their killers were unknown, collectively called the Allenstown Four.
By 2019, 3 of the victims had been identified. The oldest victim, a woman named Marlise Elizabeth Honeychurch, and her children, Marie Elizabeth Vaughn and Sarah Lynn McWaters. And finally, today, that final victim identity was released. Her name, Rhea Rasmussen.
Forensics genealogy eventually tied the murders to serial offender Terry Petter Rasmussen, also known as Bob Evans, and identified 3 victims. In 2025, the 4th, Rasmussen's biological daughter, Ray Rasmussen, was finally named, bringing long-awaited closure to part of the case.
Her half-sister's story is finished, but she knows Pepper Reed still needs one.
If you know something, say something. This is no longer a time for secrets. Everybody involved is getting older. Let's figure out what happened here.
Yet questions remain about the precise timeline and motive. New Jersey. Watcher of Westfield.
When a New Jersey family moved into a new home, they began receiving disturbing letters from someone who called themselves the Watcher. Now, after years of torment, that family is finally speaking out.
This is the now infamous Watcher House at 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey.
Derek and Maria Broadus thought they'd found their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey, until the letters began arriving. Signed only the Watcher, the notes described the couple's children, the home's layout, and a disturbing obsession with the property itself. The author claimed their family had watched the house for generations and threatened to call to the young blood.
Derek Broadus says, "I was a depressed wreck."
They hired a number of experts. They hired a former FBI agent to try to create a profile. They hired a private investigator to kind of look around the neighborhood.
The family ultimately moved in with Maria Broadus's parents before deciding to put 657 Boulevard back on the market.
Police chased every lead. Neighbors, postal records, even prior owners, but came up empty. DNA testing proved inconclusive, and the Broaduses eventually sold the house in 2019. The mystery inspired Netflix's hit series The Watcher, created by Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan. Despite the added layer of publicity, though, the real-life stalker's identity remains unknown.
Now, 5 years later, the family's selling the property that they've never lived in, that has haunted them for years, taking a loss, selling it for $400,000 less than they paid for it. We spoke with their attorney in the midst of their ordeal.
That's a great house. This is a total tragedy and nightmare for my client.
New Mexico. Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre.
About 8:30 in the morning on February 10th, 1990, Las Cruces police were dispatched to Las Cruces Bowl, where the 4 children and 3 adults were found shot execution style. 5 ultimately died from their injuries, including the 3 children.
On the morning of February 10th, 1990, 2 armed men entered the Las Cruces Bowl as staff prepared to open. They forced 7 people, including children, into an office, stole about $4,000 to $5,000, and shot the victims at point-blank range before setting papers on fire. 3 survived, including manager Stephanie C. Senek and her daughter, Melicia Rapaz, though Senek died in 1999 from her injuries, bringing total fatalities to 5. Despite composite sketches, survivor testimony, and decades of work, the gunmen have never been identified. The case remains open, with Las Cruces police and the FBI seeking new leads.
And the case remains unsolved. Las Cruces Doñana County Crime Stoppers continues to offer a cash reward of $25,000 for information that helps solve this crime.
Nevada. Secrets of Area 51.
America's Central Intelligence Agency has officially acknowledged the existence of a secret site known as Area 51. Newly declassified documents relating to the U-2 spy plane program make reference to the airbase in the state of Nevada, which has long been the subject of elaborate theories about aliens and flying saucers.
Hidden deep in Nevada's desert lies Area 51, a U.S. Air Force testing ground so secret it wasn't officially acknowledged until a 2013 CIA FOIA release confirmed its existence. The documents detailed Cold War testing of advanced aircraft like the U-2 and A-12 Oxcart, but decades of denial had already fueled conspiracy theories.
Take the combination of a remote location, an enormous degree of secrecy around it, plus all the rumors and the claims concerning alleged connections with UFOs, the enticement or the interest in secret aircraft itself. I mean, they all combine to make it something that people are interested in reading about and people are interested in writing about.
From tales of alien spacecraft and reverse-engineered technology to unmarked planes ferrying workers in and out daily, Area 51's secrecy has made it the epicenter of extraterrestrial speculation. Whether it's cutting-edge aviation or something far stranger, this isolated base remains the gold standard for mystery and myth.
Yes, I mean, the report is an internal history from within the CIA of the site. So there's a lot of information in there that we didn't have before. There are things like information about individual missions for these planes, pilot code names, things like that. So there is quite a bit of detail.
New York. Vanishing of Judge Joseph Force Crater.
A lot of people believe that once FDR is president, Crater will be a nominee to the United States Supreme Court.
He's kind of a man about town in New York. He knows all the cops, he knows all the politicians, he knows the Broadway producers, the dancers.
He is a widely known celebrity in the city. And at the time, if you're a New York celebrity, you're a nationwide celebrity.
New York Supreme Court Justice Joseph Force Crater left a restaurant near Times Square on August 6, 1930. He then hailed a taxi and, by all accounts, vanished into thin air. His disappearance became a national sensation, blending whispers of political corruption, gang ties, and scandal.
Stella's birthday comes and goes on the 9th, and Crater's a no-show. He's nowhere to be found, and she's a little worried because she's not used to her husband breaking personal promises to her.
And Stella's calling around to all these powerful men to try to figure out what happened to her husband, and powerful men will do what powerful men normally do. They're gonna cover up for their friend.
Investigators learned he had withdrawn over $5,000 in cash, liquidated investments, and that his safe deposit box and some files were empty, suggesting deliberate preparation.
Back in the 30s, Krause had a vacation home, which he frequently let Crater use for parties. Many of those parties were co-hosted by Martin Healy. Krause claimed that in early 1930, the two men buried $90,000 in the backyard.
But in mid-August, after Crater's disappearance, Krause visits his vacation home to find the place in shambles.
Yet no trace of him or his body was ever found. A grand jury failed to reach a conclusion, and to pull a Crater entered the American lexicon as slang for disappearing without a trace.
The police were able to verify part of Krause's story. Their investigation showed that Crater had written at least 2 checks to Krause. And Krause did indeed have a Westchester home.
Krause's 1954 revelations revive public interest in the case. Life magazine funds an excavation of the home's backyard.
Unfortunately, they don't find Crater's remains. And that's about as far as authorities can take things.
Ohio, Circleville letters.
Driving around Circleville today would be much like driving around Round Town in the late 1970s. Nothing changes much. In fact, the population continues to go down. There would be one major change, though. Back then, there were the letters. The Circleville letters.
In 1976, residents of Circleville, Ohio began receiving anonymous letters exposing alleged affairs and corruption. The campaign turned sinister when Mary Gillespie's husband, Ron, died in a 1977 car crash officially ruled an accident, though many considered the circumstances suspicious.
William Harsha is a 4th District state judge who was a prosecutor during some of the time of the letters. He received his share. Harsha says the main suspect of the letters was Paul Freshour, who lived in Grove City. Freshour was later convicted of booby-trapping a mailbox belonging to an ex-sister-in-law. That sister-in-law was a school bus driver who the letters would claim was having an affair with a school official.
Police later arrested bus driver Paul Freshour after a booby-trap gun linked to him was discovered. He was convicted of attempted murder. Yet even while Freshour was imprisoned, the letters kept coming. Decades of handwriting analysis and investigation have failed to identify the author, leaving the town's eerie correspondence as a haunting postscript.
The writer also says the signs and letters will not stop. Whatever happened, the letters continued off and on with less frequency into the 1990s. Then, like it never happened, the letters stopped, and Circleville carried on like nothing had ever happened.
Oklahoma, Girl Scout murders.
An empty tent, bloodstained mattresses.
Agents arrested Jean Leroy Hart.
The state's first 2 witnesses were former camp counselors.
For 2 days, we've gone over what happened to our child.
But still lacking, at least at mid-afternoon, was any hard evidence directly linking Hart to the scene of the crime.
On June 13, 1977, the bodies of Lori Farmer, Denise Milner, and Michelle Goose were found on a trail at Camp Scott near Locust Grove, Oklahoma. The girls had been assaulted and murdered, their bodies left about 150 yards from their tent.
We believe Lori and Michelle were probably most likely killed in the tent, and that Denise was either carried or made to walk to the location where the bodies were found.
There was blood on the mattresses of the first 2 cots, of the 2 cots on the left. And there was blood on the floor of the tent.
Suspicion soon fell on Jean Leroy Hart, a convicted sex offender who had escaped from prison 4 years earlier and was captured after a massive manhunt. Hart was tried in 1979 and acquitted, only to die of a heart attack in custody months later. Later DNA testing, including 2017 retesting that strongly suggested Hart's involvement, never yielded a conclusive legal result, leaving the case officially unsolved.
As far as the OSBI goes and the evidence that we have, our belief is that Jean Leroy Hart committed the murders. And the evidence that we have doesn't exclude him. It doesn't point to anyone else.
Oregon, disappearance of Kyron Horman.
It has been nearly 13 years since Kyron Horman disappeared.
His mom has not given up her search since the then 7-year-old went missing from his elementary school in Portland.
On June 4th, 2010, 7-year-old Kyron Horman vanished from Skyline Elementary School in Portland after attending a science fair with his stepmother, Terry Horman. He was seen walking toward his classroom but never arrived, and no one has seen him since. The search that followed became the largest criminal investigation in Oregon's history, drawing over 1,000 volunteers and multiple agencies.
Yeah, Kyron Horman was last seen here at Skyline Elementary on June 4th, 2010. His mom drives up to the Portland area at least once a year, if not more, to work with law enforcement to keep this case active and to bring him home.
Suspicion centered on Terry, whose behavior and communications fueled speculation, though she was never charged. As years passed, no physical evidence or trace of Kyron surfaced. His disappearance remains one of Oregon's most heartbreaking and confounding mysteries.
My life didn't really move on. My mission stays the same, and until I get to bring Kyron home, I just keep fighting for him.
Pennsylvania. Who killed Joseph Augustus Zarelli?
In Action News this noon, is the child at the center of one of Philadelphia's highest profile unsolved mysteries now finally identified.
Moments ago, Philadelphia investigators identified the so-called boy in the box as Joseph Augustus Zarelli. The child's body was found in a cardboard box on the side of what was Susquehanna Road in Fox Chase back in 1957.
In February 1957, police discovered the body of a young boy wrapped in a blanket and placed inside a cardboard box in Philadelphia's Fox Chase neighborhood. For decades, he was known only as the boy in the box. Investigators chased thousands of leads from orphanages to traveling circuses, but none solved the mystery.
Now, DNA was collected in 1998 and once again in 2019. It was that evidence which finally led detectives to a break. The DNA matched up with another sample in a genealogy database. It connected little Zarelli to his mother.
Then in 2022, forensics genealogy finally gave the boy his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli, born in 1953. Authorities later identified both of his parents. The child died from blunt force trauma, but no suspect has been publicly identified. Though his name had been established, his killer remains unknown, ensuring the boy in the box case endures.
About the boy in the box, a profound sadness is felt, not just because a child was murdered, but because his entire identity and his rightful claim to own his existence was taken away.
Joseph has a number of siblings on both the mother and father's side who are living, and it is out of respect for them that their parents' information remain confidential.
Rhode Island, origins of Newport Tower.
People come from all over the world just to see this tower, and it's one of Rhode Island's stranger things.
The Newport Tower is the oldest structure in Rhode Island.
It's believed to be at least 400 years old.
It's different than most architecture in Rhode Island, which is all wood and rectangular buildings. This one is circular, very unusual.
At the heart of Toro Park in Newport, Rhode Island, stands the Newport Tower, a circular stone structure that's baffled historians for centuries. Built of masonry fieldstone and featuring 8 arches, the tower has inspired countless theories about its origins.
No matter who built it, its purpose seems clear. In the 1990s, URI professor William Penhallow began solving the tower's mysteries. The structure is an astronomical timepiece.
The horologium, a building that keeps track of time.
Sort of like a Rhode Island Stonehenge.
Some claim it was erected by Norse explorers, Knights Templar, or even Chinese sailors long before Columbus, while most scholars credit 17th century governor Benedict Arnold, who referenced a stone windmill in his 1677 will. Still, its unusual design and supposed astronomical alignments continue to invite speculation. Whether medieval relic or colonial windmill, the Newport Tower remains an architectural enigma.
It's not just the winter solstice this tower can track. Every 18.6 years for what's called a lunar minor, the full moon shines through the west window. It also tracks the North Star and equinoxes, but the winter solstice is the most dramatic.
South Carolina, lizard man escape or swamp.
My tire just bust and it flat. So I got out and changed it about 2 a.m. at night. After I was finished changing, I was putting flat in the jack in the trunk. And I looked back, I saw red eyes, big red eyes thing running toward me.
In the summer of 1988, 17-year-old Christopher Davis reported a chilling encounter near Scape or Swamp outside Bishopville, South Carolina. After stopping to fix a flat tire late at night, he claimed a 7-foot red-eyed reptilian creature lunged at his car, leaving deep claw marks in the metal. Within weeks, other residents reported similar sightings and animal attacks, prompting a media frenzy.
I scratched my head. I said, I can't believe this, what I'm hearing. I said, okay, draw it. He drew it. Immediately, he drew it. At that time, when this first broke, it went all over the world.
Sheriff's deputies photographed large footprints and damaged cars, but no solid evidence ever emerged. Skeptics dismissed the legend as mass hysteria or hoax, yet locals embraced the story. Today, the Lizard Man remains a beloved piece of Carolina folklore and an icon of American cryptid culture.
The legend of the Lizard Man is Lee County. We just need to embrace it. Every town should have an icon, and we just happen to be fortunate enough that it happens to be a Lizard Man, that he chose us as opposed to us having to go out and find an icon for Lee County. I think he likes us, maybe he doesn't. He doesn't like cars, obviously, but we'll take him for what he's worth.
South Dakota. Deaths of Arnold Archambault and Ruby Bruguier.
Lake Andy, South Dakota, December 12, 1992. At 6 in the morning, a car stopped at a remote intersection at the edge of the Yankton Sioux Indian Reservation. It was cold. The road was icy. All 3 of the car's occupants had been drinking.
Archambault and his girlfriend Ruby Bruguier, both from the Yankton Sioux Reservation, crashed their car near Lake Andy, South Dakota. When responders arrived, the vehicle was overturned in a roadside ditch, but the couple had vanished, leaving Ruby's cousin, Tracy Dion, disoriented but alive.
I was really scared because, gee, Ruby's my cousin, you know. How can she leave me, you know? If she got out, how come, you know, she didn't want to help me out, you know? Or why didn't Arnold try to help me get out too, you know?
3 months later, in March 1993, their partially decomposed bodies were found in the same roadside depression, within yards of the crash site. Despite earlier searches, they came up empty. Investigators couldn't explain how the pair ended up back at the scene or why they weren't found sooner. The coroner determined hypothermia due to exposure, with the manner of death undetermined, and lingering inconsistencies have kept suspicions of foul play alive ever since.
I've gotten written affidavits from people that's also walked it, people that had nothing to do with the case. They couldn't have been there. They couldn't have been missed.
Tennessee, Bell Witch.
Voices and strange noises in the cave is actually very common, but there's been stuff actually happen all over the farm. It's not just the cave. We've had tapping and knocking in the cabin, or hear footsteps and nobody's there.
Between 1817 and 1821, the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee claimed they were tormented by a violent and intelligent spirit known as the Bell Witch. The entity reportedly targeted farmer John Bell and his daughter Betsy, speaking in disembodied voices, moving objects, and even striking family members.
The whole community of Adams witnessed this. It attended church, but it gave multiple identities of itself, saying that it was an Indian spirit, an immigrant spirit.
The haunting became famous when legend holds that Andrew Jackson visited the Bell home, though historians find no documentary evidence he ever did. John Bell's mysterious 1820 death was later blamed on the spirit said to have poisoned him. Skeptics attribute the tale to folklore and mass hysteria, but the Bell Witch remains a ghost story that refuses to die.
There has been times where we've heard somebody walk up on the pavilion and there's nobody there. We've come in and there'll be books all over the floor in the gift shop. That's happened multiple times, actually.
History or haunting, the Bell Witch legend has put Adams on the map.
Texas, Texarkana Moonlight Murders.
Tonight, a final case from the Tex Files, Texas mysteries worthy of X-Files plots.
You've heard this one, serial killer stalking young couples on Lover's Lane, but it isn't fiction. It's the real deal, a legendary predator that people in Texarkana have always known as the Phantom Killer.
The twin cities of Texarkana, straddling Texas and Arkansas, were gripped by fear as an unidentified gunman stalked couples parked on remote roads in the spring of 1946. The killer, dubbed the Phantom, murdered 5 people and wounded 3 others over 10 weeks. Survivors described him as wearing a white sack with eye holes, attacking mostly with a .32 caliber pistol, though one later assault involved a .22 rifle.
Tillman Johnson was then a deputy sheriff on the Arkansas side.
People were frightened, not only here, but for miles around here. When dark came, the kids came in. People didn't go downtown too much. They were frightened.
Life magazine gave it front page coverage, and hordes of policemen came to town.
Despite a massive investigation, police never caught the perpetrator. Suspect Yule Swinney was imprisoned for auto theft but never charged with the murders, and no conclusive link was ever proven. The unsolved spree inspired the 1976 film The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and a legend of terror that still lingers.
Yule Swinney, car thief, habitual criminal, longtime con. In the end, a lot of the evidence does seem to point to him, and thus, mystery solved. Well, maybe not. Over the years, relatives of murder victims have received anonymous phone calls from a woman, middle-aged maybe, apologizing for what she said her father had done.
Utah, Skinwalker Ranch.
From UFO sightings to cattle mutilations, a ranch in the Uinta Basin has been home to numerous bizarre and terrifying events, and it's now the subject of its own TV series on the History Channel.
Yeah, well, tonight, News Specialist Andrew Adams has his own exclusive look inside the mysterious Skinwalker Ranch after a visit that proved to be little out of this world.
In Utah's remote Uinta Basin sits Skinwalker Ranch, a 512-acre property infamous for decades of bizarre activity. From glowing orbs and cattle mutilations to unexplained aerial craft. The site takes its name from Navajo legends of skinwalkers, shape-shifting witches said to possess dark supernatural powers. In 1996, aerospace magnate Robert Bigelow bought the ranch to study its phenomena under his National Institute for Discovery Science.
Brandon Fugel now employs a team of scientists, and they found when it comes to radio frequencies, the ranch has a peculiar pulse.
So we might think of this as a range across the radio dial. And here, it's as if several stations all at once became very loud.
Later, the Defense Intelligence Agency's AAWSAP program explored similar anomalies through Bigelow's research company. Despite years of monitoring, sensors, and high-tech cameras, no verifiable evidence has ever emerged. Today, Skinwalker Ranch stands at the crossroads of science, folklore, and pop culture myth.
What does it say?
Calibration failed, that it was too strong to actually calibrate.
At the time, our drone encountered an unexpected interference.
I don't know what that is or if it has any relationship to what's happened with your drone.
The RF sensors started going crazy.
Well, this is a recording I just made 30 seconds ago.
When a contrail shadow began to appear in the sky.
Virginia, Colonial Parkway murders.
Full of life, witty, smart, and beautifully herself. A true firecracker.
Loved ones of Lori Ann Powell remember the 18-year-old before she was murdered back in March of 1988. According to police, she was last seen walking along Route 614 toward Route 17 in Gloucester County.
Between 1986 and 1989, at least 8 people, 4 young couples, were murdered along or near Virginia's scenic Colonial Parkway, the historic route linking Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Yorktown. The victims were found in or near their cars, often showing signs of restraint but little indication of robbery or sexual assault. The FBI initially suspected a single serial killer, though later theories proposed multiple offenders or a rogue law enforcement impersonator.
State police have identified Alan Wilmer Sr. as the suspect who killed Powell. If that name sounds familiar, it's because back in January of 2024, police linked Wilmer to the deaths of Teresa Howell in Hampton and the deaths of Robin Edwards and David Nobley. Case is commonly known as the Colonial Parkway murders.
In 2024, Virginia State Police posthumously identified Alan W. Wilmer Sr. as a suspect in 2 related cases, but the broader series remains unsolved. Decades later, the Colonial Parkway murders continue to haunt investigators and the lovers' lanes of Virginia.
Nothing can erase the pain of losing Lori Ann. Today we find comfort in knowing that the truth has come to light and that accountability has finally been achieved. We hope this resolution brings a measure of peace to everyone who loved her and all the families still waiting for justice in unsolved cases.
Vermont, Bennington Triangle disappearances. In the forests around Bennington, Vermont, a series of mysterious disappearances in the 1940s and 1950s created what local lore would dub the Bennington Triangle. The most famous was Paula Jean Weldon, a 19-year-old Bennington College student who vanished from the Long Trail on December 1st, 1946 during a routine hike, triggering massive searches that turned up nothing. Between 1945 and 1950, at least 4 other people disappeared in the same remote wilderness, including hunter Mitty Rivers and veteran James Tedford, who vanished from a bus en route home. No bodies, no confirmed sightings, and no explanations emerged, fueling speculation about wild predators, hidden cults, or something far stranger lurking in Vermont's mountains. Washington, disappearance of D.B. Cooper.
The break in the 9-year-old investigation came Sunday when Dwayne and Patricia Ingram's 8-year-old son overturned some sand while walking the shoreline of the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington. The public learned in an FBI news conference Tuesday, little Brian Ingram unearthed several packets of deteriorated $20 bills, and the FBI confirmed it.
Chances are you've heard this one before. On November 24th, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper hijacked Northwest Orient Flight 305 after it departed Portland, Oregon for Seattle, Washington. Claiming to have a bomb, he extorted $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes before releasing the passengers. In a bold, unprecedented move, he then parachuted from the rear stairs of the Boeing 727 into stormy skies somewhere over southwest Washington.
E.B. Cooper bailed out of a Northwest Airlines jet going 200 miles an hour at about 10,000 feet. The best guess is he jumped almost exactly over La Center, Washington. In fact, a placard from the jet was found near there.
Despite an extensive FBI hunt and occasional leads, including a partial stash of the ransom found near Vancouver in 1980, neither Cooper nor definitive evidence of his fate has ever been found.
Here it is, right here behind me on screen, that new breadcrumb that was discovered. A trace of metal pulled from Cooper's necktie. Here, it looks massive, but in reality, it's itsy-bitsy. I'm told 3 to 4% of a single centimeter. You need a microscope to see it.
Wisconsin, Beast of Bray Road.
I told my mom I thought I saw a werewolf, and my mom believed me.
I was walking along a good probably 7 to 10 seconds before it had turned its head.
That thing, that was no dog. That was too big to be a dog. That thing was bigger than me.
That thing was stalking cornfields, jumping on cars, and feasting on roadkill.
In rural Walworth County, Wisconsin, near Elkhorn, locals began reporting sightings in the 1980s and 1990s of a strange wolf-like creature roaming the countryside along Bray Road. Dubbed the Beast of Bray Road, witnesses described the tall, hairy humanoid creature, sometimes walking upright, sometimes on all fours, with glowing eyes and a menacing presence. Some claimed it chased cars or left scratch marks on vehicles.
It was foggy out and I was a little bit afraid. And this big thing come just like trucking, just trucking down the road at me, man. I looked at it and I'm like, and I ran, I got back in the car. And before I peeled off, that thing scratched the back of the car.
Tom Brichta's car was also scratched by the creature from Bray Road.
My adrenaline started pumping. I was scared.
While skeptics point to misidentified animals like wolves or bears and suggest hoaxes or exaggeration, the legend persists in regional folklore, inspiring books, documentaries, and a cult following among cryptid enthusiasts.
So, is it a dog, coyote, or werewolf? Believe what you will, but just remember, it's here, just waiting.
West Virginia, Mothman of Point Pleasant.
I was in the 3rd grade. My neighbors saw it, said there's a 6-foot bird with big red eyes and massive wings, chasing cars in a TNT, and in fact, it kept up with Roger Scarberry's 57 Chevy.
Between November 1966 and December 1967, residents of Point Pleasant, West Virginia reported sightings of a bizarre winged humanoid with glowing red eyes, quickly dubbed the Mothman. The first accounts came when 2 couples saw a large bird-like creature near the old TNT plant, and the reports ramped up in the following months.
It officially ended the Mothman. That's what ended the story.
Yep.
That was it. When the bridge fell, no one wanted to hear about the Mothman anymore.
It was ultimately discovered that a single eye bar, 55 feet long, fractured, causing the pin holding it in place to become loose and the tragic chain of events to follow.
Some locals feared it was a harbinger of calamity, and when the Silver Bridge collapsed in December 1967, killing 46 people, the legend took on ominous meaning. While scientists often cite misidentified birds, the Mothman remains a fixture of West Virginia folklore, spawning books, films, festivals, and a giant statue in Point Pleasant's park.
Is a copy of the original Point Pleasant register of the first Mothman sighting. Wednesday, November 16th, so it would have been the morning after, couple sees man-sized bird, creature, something. Well, there's drawings. Scarsbury eyewitness sketch of Mothman, verified by others.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Wyoming. Disappearance of Amy Roe Bechtel.
With the 15-year anniversary of Amy Bechtel's disappearance coming up next month, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office say even though it's a cold case, they are still following up on tips and they even have a new lead.
On July 24, 1997, Amy Joy Roe Bechtel, a record-breaking distance runner and aspiring Olympian, vanished while jogging near her home in Lander, Wyoming. Bechtel had been mapping out a 10-kilometer race route in the Wind River Range when she disappeared. Later that night, searchers found her unlocked white Toyota Tercel abandoned along Loop Road with no sign of struggle or clues to her whereabouts.
From such a small community where we don't have a lot of criminal activity, especially in that time, to just go up in the mountains for a run and then just disappear and basically just disappear without any traces of evidence.
Despite extensive investigations, media attention, and renewed searches over the years, Bechtel's fate remains unknown. In 2004, she was declared legally deceased, and her disappearance remains a perplexing open case. Which American mystery sent a chill down your spine? Are there any local mysteries you think we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.